Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I'm exhausted, in case you can pick up from that little slip right there, that little stutter. This one is one of those reasons. As you can see, he has been non-stop like this the past 3 days, and he only relaxes when I come and spend time with him in the living room. So, right now, he's joining me for the Q&A. Isn't that right, pal? There you go. He wants to take a nap in the living room. And I took one nap this week, and it killed me. Because my body was like, yo, you haven't been catching up on your sleep. I'm trying to do a video. Hey. I'm trying to... This is what I'm talking about right now. So I haven't gotten to do much content on YouTube since Thursday. And I'm not for lack of ideas. I already know like the next 12 videos I'm going to make, including an Ayaka highlight, so you're new to blank roll in Final Fantasy XIV, story recaps for the Shadows of Mach, finally getting into my Stormblood replay through, and a big project that I'm going to be working on, and hopefully I'll actually get to finish it before Endwalker, something that I think a lot of people will enjoy. So I've got plenty of ideas going through the noggin. But it's been a bit of a reset day as I get used to, having a workout every day in my schedule, showering in the afternoon instead of at night or in the mornings or right after my workout. Been cooking a lot more as of late. And then on top of that, I took up evening raids. So, aloha, I see what you're thinking of doing. Don't. That's not nice. I'm working. All right? I hear what you're saying, but that doesn't change the circumstances all that much. He doesn't like my shoulder being up either, so I'm not going to do that. And yeah, so between that, my cats, and everything else, that's why I haven't posted a video since the... Aloha, you don't have that kind of... Let's start the Q&A. Hey, thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. They don't have to. There's no reason for them to. All my content's free here on the YouTube channel always, but they do. So I thank them. Thank you to our patrons of Darkness, Khuja, Janova, and Kurenai Oni, who have gone above and beyond. Thank you to all of our patrons one more time, and of course to you for tuning in. Now, let me get to the Q&A before my cat decides to kill me. All right, question number 1. I had to actually go pretty far down for this one. There's a lot of comments on last week's answers, I suppose. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where I ask questions and you answer them. That is true. And hello, I'll consider that a hello. Oh no, there's a hello right below. Never mind, I jumped the gun. Hi, hey, what's up? Playing on and off since 1.0, and I still don't know which material to slot with each job. Could I get a quick breakdown? Now, fortunately, I can give you one better than a breakdown. If you Google The Balance, it's the name of a Discord, so The Balance Final Fantasy XIV. They have very elaborate descriptions on everything. Even Y stats are preferred for some jobs. Spell speed and skill speed tiers, what your rotations will look like at those tiers. Crit and direct hit breakpoints for different jobs. Everything. So what I'll tell you is generally crit rate over direct hit rate over determination with a set amount of skill speed or spell speed to do your rotation. That is not 100% set in stone for every single job, but if you're ever lost, it's the bare minimum of what you can do. But the Balanced Discord will be your best friend. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Salutations. Happy hello indeed. Thanks for answering my previous question. It's great seeing one of the pillars of 14 refrain from trivial drama and insist upon placing their energies into betterment. I try my best. We're not all immune to that, and I think that's an important thing. If you look back to me several years ago, that's certainly not the case. At the very worst, I call bullshit when I see it, but I don't try to start trivial drama for absolutely no reason, nor do I try to see it or get involved in it, unless it's something of significance to the entirety of the community. Here's a more chill question. When you played your first MMO, what's one rookie thing you did back then that would completely dumbfound you today? Trust my friends. Let me elaborate. I think most of us upon entering the MMO world, or at least a lot of us, probably didn't enter without a friend kind of pushing us along the way. A friend with maybe a little more experience in the game that we were getting into. Now for me, this was Final Fantasy XI. Actually not my first MMO, but the first one of major import. Playing things like Silk Road Online or Hero Online, didn't really count for me very much at the time. Or RuneScape when it was just, the browser game. So my friend said, hey, you're new. There's this really cool thing I want you to see out in the Pashao marshlands. It's a bit of a walk from Bastok, but I think you can make it, and if you get here, you'll get something really cool. So, of course, my friend being the one who convinced me to play, of course I have no reason not to trust them. I take a really long journey out there from Bastok, from southern Gusterberg, through northern, through the Kottstadt Highlands, and I get into the Pashao marshland zone line, and he had trained a whole wall of, what are they called? Quadavs into the zone line, and they all killed me. So the number one lesson I learned is the first thing your friend tells you to do in any MMO is probably an outright lie. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Greetings from down under. When we get the kangaroo minion, by the way. I don't know why. As soon as he said from down under, it just, I heard Ethos's voice in my head. Anyway, my question is, how does Boja stand up against Eureka now that it's finished? After finishing Zadnor, the last boss is crazy cool and I appreciate the accessibility. Maybe story and gameplay, thoughts on both. Almost everything across the board was better. I think they could use some more idle goals that are tangential to the purpose of the zone. Realistically, I mean, they need treasure bunnies. The treasure bunnies in Eureka to this day are a source of income and reason for me to go back. Putting rare drops in the lockboxes and things that are just nice to chill out on instead of the constant go, go, go that those zones can sometimes be. I think other than that, they hit the nail on the head. Only thing I'd like to see is maybe it released sooner in the expansion by 0.25 instead of 0.35, something like that. But that's about it. There's also a question about Ethos for Spoilercast. He posted a video on his own channel of what's been going on in his life, and until he is completely situated, we are not going to be hosting Spoilercast. We are not doing it without Ethos. That has been a tried and true tradition, and we have until November anyway. So that's the answer to that. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey Haps, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. 2 food-related questions this week, since I've been seeing your food pictures, which make me hungry, by the way. Oh, you should have seen my Korean barbecue spread. I had a nice couple bowls for a banchan. I had some kimchi, and I had some, I quickly fried off some pig's ear to make it a little crispy, because I don't want it to be as chewy. My girlfriend, I think, likes the pig's ear a little bit chewier than I do. And then I had some dried squid, and then I had some American Wagyu that I did some Korean barbecue with, just a quick, 25 seconds each side, you put it on a plate and then you're good to go. I didn't have any like lettuce wraps or anything like that. I had a little bit of rice, that's about it. That was good. Have you done any slow cooked meals? What did I do in the slow cooker not too long ago? I did do something in the slow cooker not too long ago. What was it? I think it was a whole roast. No, it wasn't a roast. It was like a giant piece of meat. It was like 4 pounds of just meat. I don't even remember, but it wasn't a roast. And, those are simple, thankfully. I love doing things like that. The toughest part about a slow cooker is not being able to eat it for hours and hours and hours when you smell it. That's the worst. Because you could just slice up some carrots, some onions, some potatoes. You get the stock in there. And you drop the meat in. You check on it occasionally. And then you just, but you're like, no, it's not done yet. It's not done yet. Wait, maybe I should taste. Is it done? No, it's not done yet. Okay, but that's fine. That holds me over. Yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about slow cooking. But you can basically do that with like any meat. You just throw in a bunch of stuff. Maybe if it's pork, you throw in something a little bit sweeter, since pork tends to go with things that are a little sweeter, a little bit better. But no, I do. If I do something in the slow cooker, it's really simple. I much prefer hands-on cooking because I know it'll be done. I'm not sitting around waiting. I'm just like, I need it to be done. My favorite thing to make, though, is actually a classic. You take some sausages. I don't make my own sausages. I just buy them from the local butcher, the local grocery store, whichever. And you take them out of the casings. You break them up into a pan after you've, softened up a few onions, a few, peppers. And then you do that. And then you add some rice. You blast it for a little bit. And then you pour in some stock and you just let it simmer until the rice is cooked. And then you're good to go. A little bit of garlic in there, maybe a little bit of ginger or something like that, depending on what flavor profile you're going to. Salt, pepper, paprika, just a bunch of all the basics in a pan with sausage, rice, and vegetables is by far always my favorite thing. I can make a ton of it at a time. I have it for the week, and it's great fresh. Aloha, I saw you looking at me right there. You've been good so far. Let's keep it that way. All right, so that's a favorite. It's not a slow cooked recipe, but it's one of my favorite things to make. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, fellow 1227 person. Dude, I know a lot of people with that birthday. It's really strange. My question is, if you missed the grease lightning effect that we lost with the rework, didn't seem like it was there on the benchmark, and personally I missed it. I mean, we can't tell anything from the benchmark. It's just, I agree there's no grease lightning effect around the character, but that's about it. No, I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. The only way I'd want it back is if we got Stormblood, like 4.4 Stormblood Monk back. And even then, I think it's probably better that they don't have it now, because if they recommitted to Stormblood Monk, I don't know how they could commit to anything else on top of what we already have. And I think that's really what the goal is going to be with Endwalker, is to make sure Monk's identity is still familiar, but it's fresh. And right now, we've got basically what I consider kind of the foundation for that. They can put stuff on top of current Monk and still adjust some of the things they already have and make something more exciting. If they execute, that's what we have to wait and see. But I don't miss Grease Lightning, not in the least. Hashtag Mr. Happy Monday. Hello, Haps. Hope you're doing swell. Hope the same to you. Question, do you think it would be possible to add a feature to do combos like where it automatically cycles? Not forced on people and option to set it up for yourself. I really love my AoE combos to be a one-button rotation. All right, so here's the thing. I'll give you this. On AoE rotations for certain jobs, yeah, that's probably the least egregious way to use it, in my opinion, for what you're suggesting. The problem is for most jobs, this doesn't work. The way a lot of the PvP combos are set up, the effects are either completely nullified or super basic so that you don't really have to think about how you're pressing the button or where you're pressing the button, especially as a melee, like as a monk. I just do 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 in PvP, and then if I need to AoE 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2, and I'm not a fan of that at all. And then it comes around. I'll at least speak for monk in PvP, and then it comes around. Do I have all my OG CDs? 6-sided star, enemies stunned, all my OG CDs, offload it, hopefully get the KO with smite. And if I don't, then I retreat, I attack a little bit, and I wait until that opportunity arises again. And because I have to draw this comparison, like, you can't do that with Monk. So what do you do? You can do it with Dragoon, theoretically. They would need their other starter back, because they share a starter between their two combos. So they would need Impulse Drive, I think it was called, back. Ninja, they would need separate buttons, separate combos altogether, so it wouldn't really help the button. I mean, it does help a little bit, but basically what I'm saying is, this isn't as simple as can they add it. They have to completely rework these skills so that they're less interesting to press, or at least less engaging to press. Right now, it's pretty important that you actually maintain your combo, maintain your positionals as a melee. In the case of jobs that don't have combos or don't have integrations like this, they basically need to add them. It doesn't make the jobs more involved. It just gives them leeway to add other things. And for me, I don't know. I'm just not excited about the prospect of them ever doing that. But what you've said specifically for the AoE combo, I think, again, that's the least egregious way to use it, because pressing your AoE combo is never interesting. It won't matter if that's PvP comboed or not. But even still, I mean, then there's an inconsistency among it, so it's tough. It's actually tough. I don't think they'll ever do it. But they've surprised me plenty in the past couple of years, so, you know, I'll eat my words one day, I'm pretty sure, also. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello there. Hello. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing all right. Thank you. Hopefully the same for you. Longtime watcher asked a couple of questions. My question is in regards to Twitch. Okay. Right now I've started streaming 14 from my PS5. The console makes it intuitive and a lot less clunky than the PS4. I'll eventually get a capture card, so I started working on getting a little more control of my stream overlays. Do you have any tips for a novice streamer in regards to working with Twitch tools to make things a little bit easier for when I do get my capture card? So one, become familiar with open broadcast software. I would highly advise avoiding Streamlabs OBS unless you are using a 2PC setup and unless you're taking this very seriously. And even if you are, sometimes I don't usually recommend a 2PC setup. That is a very advanced thing. That is a very technical thing. It's a very easy thing to set up, but a very expensive thing as well. And Streamlabs OBS really is a resource hog compared to regular OBS. So that's advice number one, is to just use plain OBS. Advice number two, don't worry so much about all the finer details, things like an overlay, like setting up your about me's and your tips and all that. Like, you'll see those on every stream. They all have it set up, but honestly, you need to just decide you want to stream. You just need to commit to it before putting a bunch of time and energy into these other things. If you do it, you decide you're having fun, you're enjoying yourself, even if you don't have any people coming by, but it's something that, you know, you can look forward to doing in the evening, that's when you take that extra level and you commit that extra little bit. Aloha. Are you leaving? You need me to open the door, don't you? Well, I don't have pants on, so you're going to have to wait till I'm done with this question. So that's honestly the biggest thing. I always tell people, when you want to just start streaming, those last two words, or those last three words, just start streaming, that's the advice. Because if you worry about all the little stuff, you worry about viewers, you worry about things that are uncertain, you're beating yourself into a corner before you've even started doing anything. So don't worry about any of it. Just learn to set up the capture card, learn the settings for OBS, maybe research some things to make sure it's a decent quality, and hope your internet connection is good enough, because that's the other big thing. So as long as you do those basics, you should be fine. All right, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hiya. Hey, hope your day, week, etc. is going well. Smiley face. Same to you. I'm continuously blown away by 14's quality and variety of music. Thank you, Masayoshi Soken. Indeed. So to that end, have you ever done, or perhaps consider doing, a video of top 10 dungeons or raids where it's recommended for players to turn up the volume? So I've got a new video coming out this week. I just thought of an idea right now. Crazy, right? Please look forward to it. That's a recommendation I'm not shooting in the foot. I'm taking that. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hi. Hey. How you doing? Great. You can't answer. Tell me next week. See you then. If you could have a Final Fantasy prequel 1 to 15 game, which would it be? Oh, you're saying if I could have a prequel to any of those. One's not a... Origins isn't a prequel to 1. They said it's just using 1 as a motif. I don't care about prequeling pretty much most of the rest of the franchise. Like, we already have prequels to 7. I don't really care about a prequel to 8. 9, I really don't care about a prequel. 3, hell no. And I mean normal 3. Now, no one calls 6 3 anymore. So we got to stop doing that. 6, definitely don't care. 5, no. 4, nah. 2, 11. Honestly, one of the expansions is a prequel, so that everyone has one too. 12, I mean, I guess you consider... Tactics isn't a prequel, though. It takes place like, what, 1,200 years apart or something? 13, no, we do not need any more games in that franchise. 15, no, we don't really need prequels. Honestly, the only one that makes sense to me is 10, and we already really know what happens in 10-0 with Jecht and Auron, and that's really the only one that I think deserves it. I'd rather see a 10-0 than a 10-3, and there's a chance we see a 10-3. There's a pretty reasonable chance we see a 10-3 in the next 5 to 6 years, so please don't do it. Don't do it. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hey, Haps, how's it going? It's going good. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Possibly a long one. Doesn't look it. Which encounter do you think is the best designed fight in the... Oh, now I see what you mean. From a mechanical standpoint. A friend of mine has lived and died by A8 Savage being the pinnacle of fight design. I think A8 Savage hits all the major principles. That's if I sit down and think about it, that's probably going to be my winner as well. A8 Savage takes what I call... How do I call it? It takes proper learning. And honestly, there's another fight that comes to mind, but let me slow things down. A8 Savage is the culmination of a lot of things you've seen up to that point put together in such a way that they're almost unrecognizable. Like, you see every individual element, but you can't just see the individual elements. You have to see how they're interacting with one another, whether it be line of sighting and stacking and heights and understanding how this mechanic works, this drill, single drill, single laser, double laser, how the fire and ice puddles put down, debuff passing, just the HP percentage controls, harden rages, soften rages. Like, it is literally the culmination of every concept that had been introduced into the game up to that point. And the biggest thing is it's not disjointed. A fight a lot of people love, Turn 9, all the way back in Coil. I've often criticized it because it's a relatively disjointed fight. And this is really more of a big design thing in A Realm Reborn. They basically like to hop from phase to phase without what you learned from the previous phase really paying forward at all. So, like, when you do the meteors in phase 1 and you do the dives, okay, the dives will carry over and the thermionic will carry over. But other than that, you really don't carry much over from phase 1. The entire ad phase is about setup from the first phase. That I really like about Turn 9. When you can set up your future phases by performing certain activities in your earlier phases, I love interactions like that. It's one big thing about Uwu that I really, really enjoy. And actually, if A8 Savage doesn't win, I think Uwu would win. They're pretty close to each other in terms of the way they're designed. But then you go into phases 3 and 4, and they just chuck entirely different stuff that you have to completely relearn from scratch. And so while that's exciting from, oh man, this phase is like completely different, it's super disjointed and makes it feel like you're just throwing things at you for the sake of throwing things at you. Whereas something like A8 Savage is teaching you the whole time how the fight works and then just cranking it up. One step further, one step further, one step further. 011 is another great example of that, where Omega just constantly, he's a learning machine, so he constantly evolves all of his attacks. And I think that thematically and in terms of encounter design and how together it feels, those are really important. So A8, 011, and Ultima Weapon Ultimate are 3 at the top. So I'll give you those 3 because they're all pretty close to me in their own ways. All right, hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hey, Haps, you doing all right? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? Yeah, you doing all right. Hello, have a bonus hello in case someone forgets. No, I don't think anyone's forgotten so far, but thank you. I'll take that for later because I'm sure someone will. 2 quick questions for you. First, is there any way to get the augmented items for the Law's Order armor set other than DR Savage? If not, do you think they'll ever buy them? I've toyed with this thought before. DR Savage is very poorly incentivized, and I think it would be a bad idea to de-incentivize it even more. So I don't think you'll ever see it purchasable from outside DR Savage, but DR Savage has gotten a lot easier, and over time, when people go back and do it, the amount of knowledge and the amount of experience will definitely allow people to access it. People who don't otherwise think they can approach something like that. Second, do you think there's a way you can make it so you can interchange aura glowy effects like an aura gleam for weapons? So that kind of thing is technically possible. It's a matter of development time. And Yoshida frequently comments about the development time for individual items being quite high. And for that reason, it's pretty unlikely that you'll see very much progress in that way. But if the team continues to grow, and the team is always looking to hire, I don't think they've had it like a constant open slot, like, please, we need more developers thing for like 4 years now. Like, every time they get more people, they're just like, we need to keep hiring even more people. We just need to keep going, please, please, please. It's maybe it's only a matter of time before something like this happens. So that's it. Yeah, it's up to them. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, I hope you're doing well. Same to you. First, I'd like to say that I'm glad you'll be going through the Endwalker story on your first go instead of skipping through it. This brings me to a few questions. One, what were the reasons for you skipping all the cutscenes and rushing to endgame when you streamed previous expansions? Simply put, a lot of people who are trying to watch streams are not people who are taking off of work and dedicating their first 16 hours for the first 4 days of the expansion launch to play through it. A lot of viewers on live streams are casual enjoyers who just want a place to hang out. And if you can promise them a place to hang out where they won't get spoiled, that's what I was trying to be. I was trying to be a place where people who didn't have time to throw everything they possibly could at the game on the first weekend it's available during early access, they had a place to hang out. It was always at the cost of me seeing the story on my first go-through and having to re-experience it on an alt character or, you know, through the in-room or things like that. I won't be making that sacrifice this time. It is the finale of the base story, and I am not, for the life of me, skipping a single damn cutscene. So it's going to be a long weekend before I get to the trials and the trial guides for that one. 2, since you're going to spend the first few hours leveling Reaper, are you worried about being spoiled by someone? No. Most of the people who could be possibly spoiling are going to be so marginally ahead of me, given that I'll be playing 16 hours a day for the first several days, and it's only going to take me 4 or 5 hours to level Reaper. They won't be that far ahead of me. It won't be possible. 3 is going to change. Is this change going to apply to future expansions? No. 7.0, I'm going back to not playing through. I'm going back to skipping. This is a huge exception because Endwalker is the finale. And it's the finale off the bat. It's not like 6.3 is the finale. 6.0 is the finale. So that's a very special exception. All right, hashtag, this person got the name U Space Tube. I'm impressed. Hashtag Mr. Everybody's warm greetings from the Netherlands. Hello. I hope you have a great week. Same to you. First off, all I would like to say, thank you for your content. It helped me out a lot getting into 14. I think you make great content. I hope to see much more in the coming time. You will indeed, and thank you for the kind words. For my question, I've been thinking about becoming a content creator. Do you have any tips on where to start with do's and don'ts? So first of all, don't have to think about becoming a content creator. Just start making things. I can tell you that most everyone who makes content doesn't think I'm going to become a content creator. They just start making things because they're trying not to get ahead of themselves. It's a creative outlet first and foremost before it's something that you just decide to do out of nowhere. There's just a proper name for it nowadays. A lot of us got into it before there was really like, you didn't call people content creators back then. So maybe it's just my old person brain feeding into that. So let's move on to the more important things, do's and don'ts. Don't let it go to your head. I can tell you from my early days, man, let's just say that I never got much validation in my life, and when everyone is sitting there propping you up, it's easy to let that shit go to your head. And don't let it, because it turns you into a person you don't want to become, and then you got to 180 it around for years and years and years on end to make sure you don't fall into that same trap and make yourself look like an asshole more than you already did in the past. Take that from a personal advice from me, because that's probably the biggest lesson I took away from it. The other thing is, when you're first doing content, only do what you have time to do. Don't kill yourself over making videos or making this or making that. Do what is an appropriate amount of work for the creative outlet that you need. If you find that in your frustrations with daily life, whether it be something going on at work or school or anything, if you find that when you get in front of the PC and the first thing you want to do is work on something that is creative, that you want to put out there, that you're proud of and enjoy, then you'll probably end up putting a bunch of hours into it. But if you find that you're in a situation where you're getting to your PC, you're sitting there and you're going, oh, man, I don't even know what I want to do, but I got to do something. That's bad. That's when you just don't do anything, because that's when you're going to make your worst stuff. So those are a couple of quick do's and don'ts of, I guess they kind of overlap as do's and don'ts in a sense. A lot of the things that you do are also things that you don't do, just a matter of finding the balance between the two. So those are a few quick ones, but man, that list is too long to do in one Q&A. So maybe we do it gradually over the course of several weeks. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hey, Haps Lolly, I knew you'd say you doing alright. I'm doing alright. Ho. The only good quote to come out of the near raids. Hello. My question for you is regarding the raid buffs and standard global cooldown. The more I get into endgame raiding, the more I feel like the game is kind of restrictive on the whole. I need to have a 2.5 second GCD or whatever the lowest skill speed, spell speed is for the tier. Otherwise, my opener won't line up with the 60s, 90s, 120s. Do you think the raiding aspect will shift from having a specific BIS to everyone doing the same thing? With everyone doing the same thing, or will Endwalker pull out some batshit crazy stuff to allow you to have some variations? I'll tell you the second one's a no. Gear is never going to have in Final Fantasy XIV some sort of weird nuance or RNG or some sort of reactive element to it, because then they run into balance nightmares. And the team is first and foremost concerned about all jobs being viable and there being a correct way to play every job. The individual goals that you take are the climb through the skill ladder, the climb through the FF logs if you really want to. And that is more important than anything else. To achieve that, understanding where your job strengths and weaknesses lie and what speeds they need in order to achieve certain things is a big part of that. It's also about finding a team of 7 people who can help you better exploit those strengths and do the most possible, and that's how you get the really high FF logs parses with timings and stuff like that. So there are some jobs where it is absolutely possible. There are jobs that are more reactive, like Bard. Even though they have a set flow, they are very reactive in the sense that they need to always be watching their procs. They need to be understanding different situations, multi-targeting, things like that. And there are those little nuances that individual fights can force you to try and understand better. But for the most part, no. It's going to be pretty rigid pretty much till the day we die. All right, hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hope you've been doing all right. I hope you're doing all right. I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Sorry if you commented on this in the past. What are your thoughts on the Fox Hollow system? Anything you'd like to see them change or improve? I do have a video on this, but fortunately I can pull it together quite concisely. I love the system. I've literally not missed a week of Fox Hollow since it came out. I've made millions and millions of gil off selling the minions and the mounts, and I will not complain about that. And I think it's a nice way of doing something I think 14 really enjoys doing, in that they like to make sure old content in some way has to remain relevant. And I know this is taking old content and making it new content, but you know what? That's a way of doing it, and I'm never going to hate Final Fantasy XIV for giving it their best. As for ways to improve it, I really don't think they need to swap the fight every single patch. I think that's just silly. I think they should start... So in 6.1, when we'll get our next one, we won't have it for all of 6.0 to 6.1 based on the way they've commented on it. 6.1 introduce... I'll guess Ravana. Sure, let's just say my prediction for 6.1 is Ravana, Unreal. Then in 6.2, do Sephiroth. Now, instead of removing Ravana, just rotate them every week. And then 6.3, add another. And then 6.4, and then 6.5. By the end of the expansion, every week you've got this rotating one. The reason they say they remove it is because they're balanced for that specific patch. But let's be real here. I know job balance changes between major patches, but does it change enough to remove an entire encounter because it's only balanced? I don't think so, especially because the item level sync is so low. I don't mind doing Leviathan every week. I didn't mind doing Titan every week. But wouldn't it be better if I could do Titan one week, Leviathan another week, and then, just constantly move between them? I think that'd be more interesting. So that is my number one ask for Fox Hollows is do not remove Unreals until the end of the expansion when the level cap is increasing, item levels going up, and all that stuff. Keep them and then rotate them every week so it's more interesting. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. De me lo montro quello que todo bien? That was so bad, and I apologize. 2 quick questions if you... Hi, by the way. In your 5.58 patch notes interview, you said, I'd like to have my Savage weapon ready for Reaper and Sage. When talking about E12 Savage, how does this work exactly? So, you get a coffer from the final boss in E12, or you can have 8 totems from the final boss in Savage, and then you can buy a weapon with those. One of the only weapons we've consistently seen every expansion when new jobs are introduced is the final Savage tier from the previous expansion getting a weapon for that job. So it's within reason enough to assume Reaper and Sage will get E12 Savage weapons. They won't get T weapons. They won't get any of the ultimate weapons from Stormblood. They probably won't get E4 or E8 weapons, but an E12 weapon and a Tombstone weapon are two pretty consistent things that we can bet will be there. So I'd like to have the Savage one ready if I can, but if not, it's whatever. It's 5 item levels off of my leveling weapon, which I'll fix, by 84 or 85. As for the second question, why is it that the majority gear for males isn't much different from the female version, and we end up with male outfits that have tailored dress? Next time you get a chance, ask them why don't they make the tail dress part optional. I don't know. Doesn't really matter to me. I just wear whatever I wear, and if I don't like it, I just glam over it. So they could do whatever. Who knows? Sometimes a guy wants to wear this stuff, and sometimes a girl wants to wear this stuff, and sometimes the women, the female characters want the male character stuff that they have, and the male characters want stuff that the female characters have. I mean, we get 2B's ass on the male characters. No one expected that, but we got it. So I'm just like thinking, this is fine to me. I don't see a problem with what you've suggested right here. I just glam over it if I don't want it. But the idea of something being toggleable on a piece of gear, I think a lot of people would like that, regardless of the context that you're talking about. So, probably not going to happen. Probably a lot of resources. I wouldn't expect it. All right, so there were some questions that I went past and saved for the lightning round. Tons of comments about our last week. Nothing bad, just tons of comments about last week's Q&A. Someone asking where they can get my Genshin Impact content. I pretty much only stream it. I do plan on posting a single YouTube video on my Ayaka pulls because those were lucky. I saved up for 9 months for her, and I barely had to use half of what I had saved up in order to C6 her. That was a freaking dream. Let's see. Rookie thing question. How did I get the Mr. Happy name? Somebody answered that. Pretty much on point. It wasn't too interesting of a story, so I decided to leave that one behind. In terms of questions I would answer, there's the slow-cooked meals, Grease Lightning question. Does Dancer need more attacks? I think Dancer's going to get more attacks. It's definitely one of the most concise jobs, but I don't think it needs a dot or anything. I think it just needs more attacks, I suppose. I don't even really feel like it needs that. I'm a little concerned about what they're going to do to it, but more dances, more utilities maybe, because then you don't need to really raise its A DPS too much because its R DPS is going to be so involved like it is now. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm really happy with Dancer right now. I don't want a dot to manage on Dancer. I don't think that's going to add it. It's going to be like a dot, like a 1 minute cooldown. It's not even going to be interesting. There's the PvP combo Twitch question. Make a guide from leveling fast 70 to 80. I mean, that's literally just going to be Wondrous Tales for half a level as soon as the servers come up. Prep your challenge logs in advance. Do one quick leveling roulette. Get to 71 and either Boja spam or dungeon spam. Maybe do a Pixie on that first day. Maybe Pixies on reset if you have the time. That's honestly about it. Do you think Judge will ever be a normal job? I mean, there's no way to say that. I would have never told you Sage with Gundam guns was going to be a job, so... But no, I don't think, to me, Judge just isn't an attractive like, what is a Judge? Like, when you think about it, like, other than the armor and the status and 12, like, what really is a Judge? You know what I mean? They're not even consistent in terms of weapons across. It's like the Garleans. They're not always super consistent amongst the weapons the different Legatuses use. Although some of them like to copy one another. What else do we have here? Mentor stuff. You know what patch? The upgraded Revelation gear becomes Poetics gear? 6.0. And also, I don't think you need to... Oh no, because they're gonna just make augmented. Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work actually. No, they'll probably just sell augmented stuff for Poetics once 6.0 actually comes out. It looks like some people replied to that in probably a very similar answer. Will we see more Lunar Primals? Yeah, but maybe just as like instance boss. They're not gonna be anything interesting. They're not gonna be like trials or maybe they'll appear in dungeons. That's about it. But no, they're not gonna be anything special. Like maybe solo instances in the story or stuff like that. Let's see. And then I had one about how many people does a server hold? I have no idea. In fact, he went into that post. If that post doesn't mention it, because I think that's the post you're referencing right here. There's no way I'm going to know. If he's not telling us, there's no way I'm going to know. And then there was somebody who said that, will they ever go back and raise the size of Realm Reborn maps? No. Now, obviously, I don't know that for certain. But the big thing is those zones are all separate instances, and there's space between those zones that needs to be completely built from the ground up. Like, there's no assets for them. And for zones that are just super old, probably not going to do that. So I'm going to say no. I don't think you'll ever see the Realm Reborn maps or the city-states or anything like that merged or made bigger. It's just not going to be much of a priority for them when it works perfectly fine the way it is. There was another one here. No, I answered that one. All right. Something about, were you surprised we got another melee DPS? I said it was a melee or a caster because 2 expansions ago, those were the 2 DPS that we got. It made sense that casting would be the next job because there's less casters than melees. But Yoshida hit us with the logic that there's only 1 maiming job in the game, and now there's going to be 2. They'll probably do another scouting job eventually, but when, who knows? I think we'll get another caster before we get another scouting job, though. That's what I'm thinking, but now who knows? Because they threw all those expectations out the window, you know what I'm saying? Then we had one here. There's a content creator question. There's the rigidness of the rotation question. What is the average Final Fantasy XIV player? Someone who logs in and talks to their friends, maybe does a few dungeons. That's it. They just chill. It's a social hub for them more than anything else, and less of a I'm a hardcore gamer sub hub. That's the word I'm looking for. So that's it. That's the average. That's the average gamer in general. It's just to hang out and have fun. That's it. So those people you see hanging out and talking in Limsa Lominsa, average. Maybe they spend a little more time than the average person, but average. We'll go with that. Then there was, will G'raha get a specific role? No, I think they'll keep him as an all-rounder in the trust system. That's what the question was in regards. I think he'll just stick to being an all-rounder like he is right now. Anything else? There was another stat-based one, and I felt like I kind of hit the stat-based question in that other answer where I talked about the gear and how they want to keep it largely consistent. And they've even removed like stat-based RNG from a lot of the jobs, or at least mitigated it far more. Like Monk has 100% chance of getting a chakra on a crit. They have 1 attack that auto crits, and everything else is a little bit of RNG. But then they give like Dancer and Monk things like, Esprit and chakras from the teammates and stuff. So there's a little bit of RNG. You probably won't see much more than that, however. And honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised to see that kind of move to the wayside so these stats don't become this overpowered for specific jobs, like we've seen with Bard and Crit in the past. Then there was one here. Something about glamour items, why the online glamour items, I'm assuming they mean the cash shop items, which I don't buy, so I'm not too familiar with. I guess they don't go in the armoire, and they're not repurchasable. See, I don't know any of this stuff because I don't buy anything off the Mog Station. So I have no expertise. I didn't even know this was a thing until you just mentioned it. So I'm maybe the least qualified person to answer that specific question. But all I can say is, because they're different than other items, I guess. I don't know, unfortunately. Somebody asked me about making Monk not janky. It's not janky right now. The only thing that doesn't make sense is Anatman. It's less about how they can unjank it, because it's not janky right now, and more about how they add to it without re-janking it. And that's going to be tough. I'm going to be honest with you. And I think that might be the last one that I saw here. Just some comments about mentor stuff. More people about leveling 70 to 80. There's the patch note overview, the savage weapon question, a few more mentor related things. Do I think SE will overhaul the new player experience? No. They'll always have. I think you'll always have to play through a Realm Reborn unless you want to buy a skip. It's just a matter of the quality of your gameplay from 1 to 50. And I made a video about that last week, but you made it after you made this video. Or after you made this question. So maybe that kind of helped address it. Things I would like to see them to improve the new player experience. But for a Realm Reborn and Heaven's Ward and all that, they're probably always going to sequentially have to go through all of those. So I personally don't see that changing. I wouldn't be against it, but I don't see it changing. And I think that is the last question for this week's Q&A. So thank you everyone for watching this week's Q&A. Ask your questions in the comment section of the video below, and I will get to those on the next Mondays with Mr. Happy. But thank you for tuning in. Be on the lookout for some videos this week. I'll do my best to get them out. But now, I gotta go cook. I haven't eaten, and I'd like to go do that. So thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you all next week. Until then, take care.